It is lights out and away we go. Hello, racers. Welcome to episode 31 of the Harder Soft F1 podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Huff, and I'm joined by my co-host, RJ McCullough. What is up, RJ?
Hey, welcome back. It's good to chat with you again. I guess congratulations to Max on his second title. We'll get into that, obviously, but I think off the top we have to just jump right into the fact that the FIA was an absolute joke this weekend, and for what's supposed to be the pinnacle of motorsports in an international sport, I think they really embarrassed themselves. So if it's good with you, we'll just jump right into that.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this whole weekend was kind of a disaster. I mean, it's a shame because Japan is, it's got a lot of history with this track. Seb has won a title there. There's kind of a similar picture that they compared between him and Max, but Max, I mean, we'll get into his championship win, but yeah, the FIA they just dropped the ball a lot this weekend. I mean, I think the biggest blunder was obviously the tractor. I mean, it was horrible conditions, really bad spray, and there was literally a tractor on the racing line at the exact spot where Sainz spun out, and obviously Gasly had like a crazy reaction to it, which was justified, but they sort of condemned him a little bit for that, and then obviously gave him a penalty for speeding in a later sector. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you can feel free to continue to elaborate, but it was a disaster.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously Gasly was upset because in 2014, I believe at the same track, Jules Bianchi lost his life because there was a tractor on track, and I rewatched the video. I'm not going to put it in because it's pretty bad. Like, the tractor just basically backs up onto the track where, I mean, it was on like a slide off area, but there was no chance anyone was going to survive that. So since then they basically said they were never going to have a tractor on track again, and like the instant that Sainz went off, it should have just been a red flag right away. There's no reason for it to be a yellow flag because Gasly was started from the pits, so he was like, in a yellow flag you can still like try to make up time to catch up to the pack before you have to slow down. So like, it makes sense for Gasly to be trying to go quick to catch up to everyone. And then he got that sign, like some sort of advertising board came across the front of his car, and he said he couldn't even see that. Like, the visibility was just absolutely ridiculous. And then
the Rolex thing.
Yeah, like, it was scary, and like the onboards, you literally couldn't see anything. I mean, that's like another issue. But yeah, and then we saw Gasly just livid in the paddock afterwards, and didn't really know exactly why. I think the broadcast didn't necessarily pick it up too quickly, but once we heard his interviews after, and maybe I'll put a little bit of that in the video, it's just, you could see.
Obviously I got scared. Obviously if I would have lost the car in a similar way as Carlos lost it the lap before, I would have just died. Simple as that. And it's disrespectful to Jules, disrespectful to his family.
Like, he was just distraught and extremely upset, and rightfully so. He's lost a couple friends in driving, so that was really, really bad look. Just, they basically promised that would never happen again, and then in those conditions all it would have taken was someone to go off a little bit, or aquaplane, or you okay over there?
Yeah, what the fuck, dude? I don't even know what the hell that was, if I'm being honest. I think it was my fan. Holy shit.
Something's going on over there.
Dude.
Yeah, they even showed like Danny Rick was driving like on the line to try and cool his tires, and like that was really close to where that tractor was. I mean, they obviously couldn't see the tractor, and like the barriers are there for a reason, to cushion guys if they go off track. If anyone hits that tractor, they even said in the findings of the 2014 thing, like, there can be no expectation of anyone to survive a collision with a tractor. Like, it's going at the speeds they do, it's just not, it can't be expected to happen no matter how safe they make the cars. So really upsetting. And then obviously Gasly was pissed off. They went red flag, but he was just like seeing red at that point, so he did speed in the red flag sector afterwards. But I mean, understandable. So that was one thing, and then obviously that was disappointing. They stopped the race for like 2 hours, and then finally we get back, and then it's like a half race. So the whole time we're watching this race, the broadcast, the teams, everyone is under the assumption that it's just a half points race, because they changed the rules after Spa, And you know who changed those rules? Michael Massey wrote these rules. So Michael Massey, once again, still impacting the FIA and F1 because the rule is actually that the race has to be stopped under a red flag for it to be half points. But everyone was under the assumption that since the race didn't start until so late that it would be half points. Like, it was pretty much just like a clerical error, but they have to go by the wording. So it's weird. At the end of the race, first of all, every single driver, when they came across the line, thought there was one lap left in the race. Like, it was really weird. And then the Red Bull guys come on the radio to Max saying that he has, like, he's going to win the title in America, in Coda. He's not going to win at this race. He didn't have enough points. Then they go in and interview him, and they're putting world champion behind him, and he's like, did I, didn't I? And then they figure out that, okay, it is actually a full points race, and since Perez passed Leclerc, that Max is the champion. But how exciting would it have been if going down that last stretch we knew, and Rick would have been like, Leclerc goes off, Perez, Leclerc is going to get a penalty, Max is going to be the world champion. So not only that, they also didn't show Max crossing the finish line and is world champion. So, I mean, poor Max, he's won 2 titles in a row, but neither of them he's really had that, like, moment, you know? Because last year was such a joke. But I know it took a long time to explain it all, but, oh, man, it was confusing as hell. And I know you were up, you stayed up to watch it live. I'm not going to lie, I fell asleep at 3 a.m. during the delay. But, yeah, go ahead and tell me what the hell you were thinking during that, because you're a Max fan.
Yeah. Dude, it was rough. I'm not gonna lie. I had to get up at like 7 for work the next day, and I had like a super long day. But I wanted to watch the race, man. I mean, obviously I was like hyped for Japan. I knew it was probably gonna be a wet race, but yeah, it was like extremely bizarre, and I'm pretty sure that they actually fucked up the end of the race too, because I'm pretty sure Max actually crossed the line like with at least like 1 to 3 seconds left. But they just went ahead and called it for some reason, which is so funny to me, given that we literally had like a 40-minute race plus 2 laps. It's absolutely crazy. And yeah, like you said, if like somebody had hit that tractor, it would have been like I think we would have literally had like multiple drivers potentially quitting just out of protest, because if another driver had literally potentially lost their life in the exact same way on the exact same track, I mean, that the fact that was even a potential shows like how incompetent they are. And yeah, besides that, Max's championship, I mean, there was a graphic that was shown during the race that actually said that there would be full points, but none of the commentators knew that. And it wasn't really like, it just wasn't really focused on, you know, it didn't know. And when they actually won, I mean, he didn't find out until he was in like the cool down room, basically, that he got full points. And then with the penalty with Leclerc that he actually won, it was just like so anticlimactic. I mean, even though his first one was surrounded in like much more controversy, it was at least a lot more exciting for him, because this shit was like, I mean, it was like a sitcom. I mean, it was just so anticlimactic. And yeah, the delay, the whole thing, it was just a whole a mess, really. And the rest of the season, I think, I mean, we are going to continue to watch and be extreme fans and make episodes, but it's going to be a little boring, I think. I mean, it's just going to be fun to watch Seb, you know, for his last races, and Daniel too, Fernando, his last races at Alpine. And yeah, just I guess it'll be more focusing on like the midfield, and if Leclerc or Sainz are able to pull out any more wins, or hopefully if anybody besides Red Bull, or yeah, exactly, Lewis or anybody, like as long as it's not Red Bull. Speaking of that, I don't know. I'm now looking at our notes. Do you want to get into the cost cap?
Yeah, I guess just quick, like, do you think there's a better solution for the 3-hour time window? Because there was no chance that they were getting that race in. And it's very, very frustrating when you stay up and just knowing, like, okay, we're only going to get half an hour racing. And then if it would have been another red flag, would they have even gone back out again? So, I mean,
no.
I understand it. Like, they don't necessarily want to have, like, a 2011 Montreal where it was, like, 7 hours and there was a 4-hour delay. But they still did the race, and it was an amazing race in the end. So, I don't know. What do you think is the solution? Because this is, like, the pinnacle of motorsports. It's not really... doesn't really make sense to just be having like a 40 lap or however many laps it was race. It was a half race, but it did not feel like a half race.
Right. No, yeah. I mean, 40 minutes. I mean, races are sometimes a lot longer than just an hour and 20. You know, it felt extremely short. I mean, I don't know if they should change the rules because, I mean, I personally feel like that race should have been half points. I don't know if that still would have. I don't think Max would have still come away with the championship. I don't think so. Which,
I don't think so.
Yeah, and I mean, somebody subtitled the conversation between Sergio, Max, Helmut, and Adrian Newey, and it's you literally hear a Helmut say, Max is like, he's like, I think they fucked up my champion. I think he's like, I think I'm 1 point away from getting the championship, but he's like, I think it's still like in contention. I don't think I won it. And Helmut's like, oh, it's okay. We don't want you to win here anyways. Like, it'd be much better for you to win in Austin. And Sergio says, he goes, oh yeah. He's like, it'll be a much bigger party in Austin.
Oh man.
Yeah. And then he immediately found out right after that he actually did win. So it's hilarious. Real quick. One thing I did forget, everybody, including the drivers, are wanting to move Japan to earlier in the season. That's been a topic that's come up a lot because obviously, you know, the cherry blossoms is around that season, and it doesn't make sense because they went in typhoon season in Japan, and it's always, you know, it just doesn't make sense to set the race in. But apparently the actual, I think the track holders or something, or whoever is over the Japan GP, they like it being later because what happened this weekend could happen again, that a title could be decided there. They like the potential of that rather than being like the fourth track in the season behind Australia or something like that, even though that would make so much more sense. So hopefully that gets moved up because it makes absolutely no sense. So
yeah, no, I completely agree. And it's a lot of the drivers' favorite track. Like, I know Seb says
right.
He's really sad to not be driving there anymore. Whether that's hyperbole or not, but like it's the drivers like it there. I'm sure that they would much prefer to be driving in better conditions because it's typhoon season or whatever the word is. So it's probably just going to keep happening. It's not really fair to the fans. It's not really fair, like especially the fans that go to the race because they haven't had a race in a long time. So, and then another thing, just real quick, I think the FIA has already said that they're going to change the wording on the half points thing because like the intention was for if this happens that it would be half points. I think they said that
right, like
because previously they had never had this situation where because previously they would have just, if the weather was good enough, they would have just kept racing. So now they're like, they never had to write in the situation if the race ends because of the timer, I guess is their explanation, but still that doesn't, it's stupid because the timer was a new thing anyways. But yeah, so they're gonna change that, but I guess Max wins. But going back to last year's, his first title, I don't think anything's gonna really change on it necessarily. We can each give our own side of this, but basically it was found that there were 7 teams that complied with 2021 cost cap number. 7 teams stayed under it. Williams and Aston Martin had procedural breaches. Those Williams was already dealt with. I think they just forgot to, or they didn't get their financial information in on time, something like that. Aston Martin, we're not sure yet. I believe we're not sure yet what it was, but it was just a procedural breach. And then Red Bull had a procedural breach and a minor overspend breach. From what I've seen, the FIA hasn't said what that overspending was. I know you had said you'd seen something. I think that came from someone in Red Bull, so I don't know necessarily who to believe. You can explain that in a minute. But yeah, Red Bull basically said that they think they are under the cap, so they're surprised to see this. So I think the FIA is going to have to come out and announce what it is they overspent on, because I think let's hear what you have to say, and then I'll give my response.
Right. I don't know if this is like from Red Bull or like from where, but apparently like they're claiming that the overspending like wasn't on the car, that it was like on catering or like some bullshit. And I mean, my thought was like, if it was like about catering and like whatever, if that's true, then slap them with a really, really big fine, which I think that makes sense. If it had to do with the car, then yeesh, that is a big old can of worms that will probably result in some potential wins or championships being undone, which I think would be extremely, I mean, it would be like, it would be so drastic, but I mean, kind of necessary, I think. But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the common thought, but I guess we'll find out what like the findings are.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from like the not liking Red Bull side of things, just to play devil's advocate, like even if it was on catering, and like that's a lot of catering, that's a lot of cookies. Like $2 million overage on catering, that is a shitload of catering. And then it also sort of like, if let's say you have $140 million to spend and you're at $138 million and you know your budget for catering is $2 million or like whatever it is, then but you need to do an upgrade on the car and you choose the car, you know what I mean? Like, yes, you're going over on the catering, but that's because you spent that extra amount on the car.
Right, yeah. That's sort of I've seen that as well. People are like, well, if they spent less on the car, then they wouldn't have went over on the catering, which is definitely a fair argument. I don't know how you can differentiate.
Yeah, and they made such a big deal about teams not going over, and apparently they spent like $1 to $2 million over, which in the grand scheme of things for F1, that's not a lot, but it's like the cap's there for a reason. They have to punish them somehow. I mean, I don't think Max is going to lose his title or anything, but it is kind of opening up a can of worms. So we're really gonna have to wait on this one because Red Bull's basically threatening legal proceedings, and it's not gonna go well.
I mean, yeah, the FIA I think they're not. I mean, even let's be honest. Even if Red Bull, if you found out they did go $2 million over on the car, they probably would just still fine them. I mean, I don't think they're confident enough, or like, I think they're too corrupt to not just let it slide. They've done it before.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense. They don't want to. It sucks because it's such a, like, if it was this season where, you know, clearly Max is winning by so much, but last season was just so close.
Right.
And they're kind of setting the precedent with this one. Like, if they just slap it with a fine, no matter how big it is, then Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes, you can guarantee every year they're just going to go over the cap if they know it's just a fine. Because winning a world championship, that's the sort of thing that goes down in the history books. You know, you make your legacy based on that. No one's going to necessarily look back and be like, oh, but they also had to pay a $100 million fine. Like,
right.
So yeah, it's unfortunate sort of for Max a little bit because it could taint already more of that world championship. But I think as time goes by, that's not really like 10 years from now. I don't think people are going to be putting an asterisk on it. I think it's just going to be one of those things.
Sure.
But yeah, a little unfortunate for him that he didn't get the. First of all, they didn't show him crossing the finish line. Second of all, he didn't get that like proper like Max Verstappen wins the world championship. We didn't get that call. But I don't really know that you can blame. Like, I saw Crofty, I believe, was getting a lot of shit online, but like the teams didn't know. Obviously, like a lot of people within F1 didn't even know. Like the broadcasters didn't know. F1 TV was putting graphics up that said it was full points and that it wasn't. Like, it was all over the place. It's just an embarrassing thing for like, how do you not, like, how has not one person looked at the rule book and been like, no, this is what's happening? They had a 2-hour delay. They knew what was coming.
Right.
But yeah, anyways, enough. I'll move on from that. Yeah, Max does win his second title. I think I saw that he is now tied with Alonso in both career wins and world titles because Alonso has 2 world championships. So that, he's like 25 years old. So that is like, and Alonso is already like, I mean, not already. Alonso is considered one of the all-time greats. So if Max is already at him, like, wow, he is on quite the trajectory. So do you want, before we get into a little bit of the race details, do you want to give your thoughts on your boy? I'll give it up. He won this fair and square. There's no doubt he was the fastest, best driver. I mean, he showed that on the first lap this race. Unbelievable pass on Charles. So go ahead.
Yeah, and he also set a record for winning with the largest gap ever at Suzuka. So, I mean, he is just like,
40-minute race.
I mean, 25. I mean, I'm 25 years old, and I haven't done shit compared to Max Verstappen. I mean, holy shit, dude. He is, I mean, I mean, he is like unbelievable when you're comparing him to Fernando Alonso and he's 25. Like, that is unbelievable. He's made this season so boring. I hope. I mean, he's for sure. This is definitely not his last title win. There's no way. He's got many, many more wins, many more titles. He's going to set a lot more records. So I just hope that some other teams are able to bring the fight to him. As a fan, I don't want him to just get this shit handed to him. I mean, God, it is like this year has just been like he's like a knife slice. He's a hot knife going through butter. That is it.
It's unbelievable. I heard someone use the term like this year he's inevitable, and I think that's like the perfect way to explain it, because no matter what place he starts on the grid, no matter what, like even last week when it was a disaster of a drive for him, like it still seemed like, well, you never know, he could come back and win still. Like he just, it's impressive, and as much as we want to see the rest of the season, other people maybe going up and getting their wins, I think he's tied now with Vettel for second most wins in a season all time, and one behind Schumacher for most wins in a season all time. I know we have more races now, but I mean,
those will be broken.
Those will be broken. So like he just needs 2 more to get the record. So 4 races left, I believe. I think if he might just go win all 4, I don't know. I think other teams really are just going to be focusing on their cars now for next year. But
this season is shot for all teams. I mean, I'm especially like Ferrari and even more so Mercedes. Like next year is the focus, because they need to be. Mercedes need a way bigger jump, and Ferrari they need a jump too. But I hope Max kind of becomes the wingman for a weekend, because I think Sergio he needs to win Mexico. I think Sergio needs to just give it his all, and Max needs to just let it happen. But it would also be pretty fucking savage to just beat Sergio in a 1-2 by like 30 seconds at his home race. That would be kind of a dick move, but I mean, we'll see what happens. I want Sergio to get it, but we'll see.
That's a good point. I think we'll have to see on qualifying. Like if Sergio gets pole, maybe Max will kind of help him out. But if it's like Max 1, Sergio 6th or something off quali,
right?
I don't know. But I totally agree. There's really no reason for Max not to help if Sergio's in the mix, but we'll see. That's in a couple races away. But yeah, I guess just quickly going over the race, a couple things that were interesting. Obviously, it was very, very wet when they started the race. Most people didn't even think they were going to start the race when they did, like on time. I think we were both kind of just
shocked,
crossing our fingers, we obviously wanted to see it, and it was exciting. But it was, to use the term again, it was kind of inevitable that there was going to be some sort of crash, and it didn't take long. Luckily, obviously, with the tractors, that no one was severely injured or anything. But they all started on inters because they're so much faster than wets, even though they should have really started on wets, obviously, considering the track conditions. So pretty much right away, Sainz goes off. And then they did a restart on wets because they have to on wets, but I think right away everyone wanted to go to inters. And Vettel and Latifi were the first to do it, and we saw what happened with them. Latifi getting 2 points. He's now back up to 20th. He's back up to 20th, baby. Going out in the standings.
Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah. So, and then Vettel, I forget what place he finished, maybe 6th or something. Like, he was a great final drive for him there. So, and then, a couple good battles we did get to see. Obviously, Leclerc and Perez, and then Ocon and Hamilton. Does anything stand out for you during this race?
For sure. Vettel, we've mentioned, it was definitely disappointed for Daniel. I've been really thinking a lot about him not being able to drive in Vegas and how much that sucks, but, you never know. I mean, I think we do know, but I mean, it was just, it was short. I mean, there was some good battles. I mean, Ocon defending Hamilton, I think, was like a really solid highlight. I mean, that would have been a better time for a Mercedes driver to say he's driving like it's like, or what did George say about Mick? He's driving like it's his last race or something like that.
Yeah, like it's driving for a world title or something like that.
Yeah, he said something like that because Ocon was, fighting so hard, but yeah, it was cool. Some really great moments. It was so late. I've watched the highlights again since then, but it was a lot. It was an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, it was just weird. Just a weird race. I think those kind of leave
So
everyone
weird.
feeling a little like just unsatisfied when you get those type of races. I mean, Max was obviously so far ahead that it wasn't going to change anything, but you never know. I mean, there is always a chance of DNF or something, but just in general, like it was, yeah, little bit disappointing, but what are you going to do, right? That's the way it is.
Exactly.
On to Coda for the next one. One thing I did want to mention as a Mercedes fan, like I'm sick and tired of George Russell already. We had last week, we just mentioned what he's saying about Mick, and then this week, like when it was the clear, obvious decision that every single team was making to change to pit, and he's coming out, this is the worst decision we've ever made, like just bitching and moaning. He acts so entitled, and he just rubs me the wrong way already. Yeah, not loving that, but I mean, gotta hope for the best because he's on Merc, but not in terms of performance. Great season for him, but haven't liked him very much. Just his attitude, but we can move on
Agreed.
to other things. Speaking of which, hopefully for the last time, but definitely not.
Oof.
It's a Red Bull Chug for me.
The Red Bull Chug.
The lucky Red Bull Chug. Now, did you end up chugging one last week?
I did.
Okay, and now RJ's turn.
Go. Yes. So we did we were going to do an episode last week, but we ended up not. I recorded like a little 8-minute video of me doing the chug since Sergio won. Excellent job. You did that way better than I did. I did it embarrassingly slow, so I'm sure you'll put that in at some point. But yeah, nice fucking job. It definitely won't be the last one. I did a sugar-free Red Bull though.
I always forget to do that. It's so much smarter.
They're so good. I really like the sugar-free ones. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm so stupid. Okay, I was thinking of getting like a big one because Max won the title, but I can't handle that.
No.
There's no. That would have been a sippy.
Yeah.
Some other good news for you this week. Now, last week I pulled out a bigger lead. We didn't obviously talk about this, but after Singapore, I got 60, you got 41. So my lead was up to a nice number, 69. Good one, RJ. And then this week, Japan, you had a very good week. So you had 61, I had 40. So pretty much a reverse of last week. So yeah, now at this point, the totals are, let me just move up my screen here. After Japan, Adrian 910, RJ 958. So my lead is now down to 48 points. So still within reach with four races
close.
to go. I know. So you pulled within. Let's see, you gained 21 points this week. So
I like it.
Good week for you, in that regard. Just keeping it interesting, a lot more interesting than the title race.
Yes.
I think Red Bull is basically going to wrap up the constructors maybe in Coda, so they can still get their party in Texas. So good for them. Yeah, I haven't actually watched just because I'm not the biggest. Like I'll be honest, full disclosure, I didn't even know when I turned off the TV that Max had won the championship because, like, I fell asleep and then I woke up and rewatched the race, and then I turned it off after Max finished across the finish line. And then I'm looking on Twitter and it's like Max World Champion because this was a few hours later, obviously. And I'm like, what the hell? So I didn't even know. So I had to go back and find out. So yeah, I just hate watching celebrations of people or teams that I don't like. And I have another thing to add on that later because my teams are just right now. But
yeah, we'll finish off with that.
Yeah.
I also did not know that he won until the next day because literally the race ended. And then I maybe stayed up for like another 3 minutes, and then I went to bed because I was so tired. Then the next day I woke up and pretty much immediately noticed. I was like, oh fuck, that's it. Shit.
So
I didn't even know.
Yeah, so that's 2 years in a row. Like last year, like yeah, he won and they got to announce it over the finish line. A great call, but it was still there was a lot of like, is this gonna hold up, kind of thing. We really didn't know even going into like the end of this, like a couple of weeks later. It was still kind of, and then eventually it was just like, okay, well if they haven't said anything at this point, it was another just failure by the FIA to communicate and just pushing back deadlines. But we're already past that. But yeah, very anticlimactic way. I'm sure they'll get another title, and I'm sure they'll make sure that things go more smoothly next time. Hopefully it's like a learning experience for everyone involved. Speaking of learning experiences, what a segue, because we saw last week that the Honda logo is now returned to the Red Bull car, and Porsche, that thing's just done. That deal's fallen apart. And
it's
yeah,
dead.
The Honda logo is back. So I guess Honda is back with Red Bull. Just one of the weirdest relationships in sporting history between Honda and Red Bull, but it's back on. Are you happy to see that?
Of course. I mean, I know Honda definitely helped them develop the engine this season, but I hope that they return as a full sponsor, because I mean, they are just famous for not doing that though. So I don't know. But yes, I like seeing that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what goes. Yeah, I don't know. As a Merc fan, I don't know what to think, but it's good. I mean, it's sort of a natural partnership, so it makes sense. Just one thing quickly. I don't know if you saw this video last week. There was, I forget who it was with, but Fernando Alonso was showing how to drive around the track last week on the F1 game, and he, instead of driving in the Alpine car that he's in the game, he drove an Aston Martin car. So, such a dick move, but such a Alonso thing to do.
That is.
Yeah, so there's that. And then also another thing we didn't really fully discuss, but it was like we've discussed the rumor of it forever, that it's just confirmed now. Gasly is going to Alpine. So two Frenchmen that hate each other will be on the French team. And then De Vries signed for AlphaTauri. So
hype for that.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool. Yeah, joins the Red Bull franchise. So that's good for them. It'll be... All right, I think I saw that Max told De Vries to talk to Helmut Marko about joining AlphaTauri. So that's kind of a cool little wrinkle.
That is cool.
But yeah, that's pretty much all that I had for F1 stuff this week. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we move on to my misery?
I think that about covers it. Closing out with De Vries, it's exciting. I mean, he's such a Chad. Took one race and he's got a seat for a whole season. Let's go.
I know. Yeah, we'll have a couple rookies on the grid next year, so that's always exciting.
That is
interesting little battle there. So yeah, we can move on now to other things, because a big part of my life is sports. I work in sports media. And I spend a lot of my time and a lot of my enjoyment is based on sports. So recently, the MLB, the baseball playoffs started. Your team, the Braves, they just played their first game of the, what do they call it, the divisional round or whatever. But in the wild card round, the Blue Jays lost the first game. It's best 2 or 3. But that's okay, because they're playing at home. Really good team. They're up 8-1 in the second game, and they blew it. So just like the Leafs blow every elimination game, just like the Bills always choke. It's been a tough thing. I know you sent me a video of Jays fans, and I just couldn't even watch that. It's just
it was deep. Their reactions were pretty great. I'm not gonna lie, but I have nothing but sympathy. That is so sad. I feel so bad. It's not fun.
Yeah, I saw the Braves were losing by like 6-1 or something. I assume they lost today, but I don't know. Maybe the Braves can get it done, so one of us can have. Although I don't know if I can put up with you having back-to-back Max championships and back-to-back Braves championships. I don't know. And then if Georgia wins again too, I don't know.
I know, bro. Georgia had the national last year.
Yeah. You're getting a few wins in that are not acceptable. But the Bills are a wagon this year, so I'm really hoping they're going to get it done. That's my only hope at this point.
The Braves lost their first game. They lost by 1, but they almost did. That's okay. We'll see what happens. We're conference champions, so that's okay. It's been a pretty good year. Surprising. They didn't start. I mean, last year they didn't start super strong either, but yeah, they've been doing great. I'm super excited. I'm hoping they can turn this. Who are they playing? Fuck, they're playing the Phillies. Yeah, the Phillies. Hoping they can turn that shit around.
Yeah, I think they at least make a series of it, make it interesting. I'm just hoping the Yankees don't win. That's at this point the main thing I'm rooting for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, other things. I know you said you started watching House of the Dragon. We're not gonna.
I'm caught up.
You're caught up. Okay. So yeah, we're not gonna give any big spoilers because it wouldn't really be fair, I guess, to people that haven't watched. But how are you liking it so far? And without giving away any spoilers, which team are you on? I guess it'd be Team Green or Team Black.
Yeah, I waited a few weeks to start it. I absolutely love it though. It's so good. I've seen some people say that it's boring, but I could not disagree more. I think it's so good. The acting is so phenomenal. I believe his name's Paddy Constantine. He plays King Viserys, bro. That dude, he is my favorite on the whole show. I love him. He is so good. And if you watch the most recent episode, you'll agree that he at least deserves, whether it's an award or some sort of acknowledgement for that role, because it is so good. Definitely Team Black, bro. Team Green is they're delusional. They just are. Especially if you watch the end of the most recent episode. It is just built on delusion and brats.
Yeah, and it's about to ramp up even more. Episode 9 is usually like the penultimate episode of Thrones is usually like the big one. So
cannot wait.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. What else was I going to say? There was something else I was going to say, but I forget. That's okay.
You were going to bring up the Jeffrey Dahmer show on Netflix, because that is like, people are talking about that like crazy. I have not. I'm not like the biggest true crime guy. I really like the only type of like show thing like that Netflix has made like that I've watched is Mindhunter. Mindhunter's really, really good. I love that show. That's really good. But I have not watched the Dahmer thing. I've watched a documentary about Jeffrey Dahmer, which was extremely fascinating. When it comes to like serial killers, except for like Mindhunter, I guess I really prefer like documentaries. But I know it's like super huge, and apparently Evan Peters is like just killed it. So have you watched it?
Yeah, I watched it. It's a pretty disturbing watch, but they didn't.
Sure.
By no means did they like sympathize the character like Jeffrey Dahmer or anything.
Good.
Yeah, which was what I was a little worried about, but no, it's just a really well done show. Obviously the awful story. I mean, that goes without being said, without saying, but it was really well done, and it does kind of like it grips you in once you start watching. It's just like how could someone be like this? Then they go into his childhood and all that. But yeah, no, it was well done. I can never say like I can never like recommend watching something like that because it's like just not for some people, you know.
Right.
But no, it was good. Yeah, that's pretty much all we had for this week. I guess we get 1 or 2 weeks off. I think 1 week off, and then Coda's
I will
not
verify.
this upcoming weekend, but the week after, like the 20-something.
Yeah, I'm gonna verify real fast because I'll also pull up the times because I think we're definitely gonna have at least one off week. World champion Max Verstappen. October 21st is the first free practice, so we just have one off week. So we're going to skip next week. We'll have an off week. We'll figure out something to do for the episode, and then the week after, the race is on October 23rd, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Qualifying is the day before, the 22nd. It's at 6 p.m., which is interesting. The race is at 3. 6 p.m. Eastern. That makes sense though, because 6 p.m. that's going to be like 4 in Austin. I think that makes sense. I think that's how time zones work. So.
That'll be great. Always fun watching that. Be good for Danny to get a good send off his last race in Texas. I know. Hopefully he can do well.
It sucks. Hopefully next year we won't get to see him race, but hopefully whether you're here for COTA or I'm up there for Canada. Hopefully we're able to get some press passes because Formula One tickets have gotten even more expensive, bro. Like
it's absolutely
we can't
insane,
do it.
yeah.
But you know what? We're
get...
press. So
yes, exactly.
We're
covering
gonna get we're gonna get press passes, and we're covering the race.
Absolutely.
So we're not the common man. Yeah, we're not the common man.
That's the goal. But yeah, I think also let us know, everyone, what you think of our new. If you're watching on YouTube, or even listening, because we're working with a new way to record our audio and our video. But we also have a new. We should have a new template this week for like the background and stuff. So let us know, everyone, what you think about that. Whether it's through email or Twitter or whatever social media you use. We always like to hear feedback from everyone. We had some good numbers on our YouTube numbers last a couple weeks ago. So thank you everyone for that. We're gonna keep trying to get those up, and hopefully we can get some advertisements and get those media passes and just do this full time. We can do 2 or 3 episodes a week. That'd be nice. But for now, we're gonna keep growing slowly. We appreciate everyone listening. That's pretty much all I've got. Congratulations again to Max Verstappen.
Yes.
Hopefully Lewis has one more championship left in him, but this year clearly was Max's, and he is a deserving 2-time world champion.
Yes, he is. Hey, Lewis said he's got 5 years left in him, or at least that's what Toto said. So I could definitely see another.
In there.
Oh, absolutely. He's going to get the 8th. But yes, that is all. Thank you so much for watching or listening, and we will see you all next week.